Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. This is the latest edition of the Walton webinar series in conjunction with Waterford Chamber and Toys for Engineers. We want to welcome everybody today. Today's topic of conversation is around the European Digital Innovation Hubs and the European Digital Innovation Hub called Entire, which is based in the southern region of Ireland. There are a number of partners involved in this, including Tyndall, MTU, Skillnets, UCC, and ourselves here based at Walton Institute in Waterford. So I'll just get Lisa to change the slide, please, if you don't mind. Oh, sorry, just while Lisa's changing the slide there, just to let you know that you have an opportunity to answer questions. There's a small Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and you may also be able to raise your hand. We'll look for questions after each presentation today. So first of all, what is a European Digital Innovation Hub? So the European Digital Innovation Hubs were set up over the last 2 years to try and support the digital capacity of every organisation across Europe. Whether you're an SME or multinational or a public service organisation, we're basically here to assist you in your digital transformation. There is a large number of European digital innovation hubs across Europe. So if we cannot assist you, somebody else, we'll be able to put you in contact with another European digital innovation hub that can. In Ireland at the moment, there are 4 European digital innovation hubs, one based within each region. The whole idea behind the European digital innovation hubs came off the back of an SME report in 2019, when the European Commission realised that only 4% of SMEs had any kind of digital capacity. They wanted a kind of, I suppose, a grassroots approach to solve this problem, and they wanted European digital innovation hubs to be within driving distance of every organisation. So hence we cover the southern region of Ireland. The EDIs are actually, they're called EDIs in Europe. The EDIs are funded through the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, and we're funded under the Recovery and Resilience Fund. So I'll just get you to move to the next slide. Thank you, Lisa. So there are, as I explained, quite a large number of EDIs based across Europe. We look at a various number of sectors. We kind of consider ourselves almost agnostic, even though we do look at transport, energy, agriculture, and also health. And we do have a large number of services available to you, and also a large number of technologies as well that we consider. But we do look specifically within this particular consortium at artificial intelligence, digital skills, cybersecurity, and high performance computing. Next slide, please, Lisa. So under the European Digital Innovation Hubs, there are 4 pillars, and I'm going to talk to you just briefly about each of these pillars. And then we're going to invite in our panelists who will speak about their experiences under the pillars, or in actual fact, how we can support you under each of them. So the first pillar is one which is the test before you invest. So this is where you can avail of the actual services themselves. Entire has 45 services to assist you on your digital journey. What I would say when I say 45 services, sometimes people might get a little bit nervous and think, oh gosh, where do I even start? The best thing to do is to either email us or pick up the phone, and we'll start with the digital maturity assessment, and the actual funding piece around the services I'll explain in a couple of slides' time. But the services are there. There's services are ranging anything from a technical analysis, a web application around a security assessment, or navigating system modeling and data analytics for your business. That's just to give you an example. There are also test beds available, and you can have access to all of these test beds across all of these partners. Anything from precision imaging and 3D modeling to extended reality, innovation lab, or life sciences interfaces. So you're encouraged to try and test the technology that you want to deploy within your organization, and you leverage the partners across the entire consortium in order to do that. But again, if we don't have the technology, the capabilities, or the testing facilities for you, we can put you in touch with any of the EDIs across Europe, and they can assist you in what you need. Next slide, please, Lisa. So skills development. So once you've actually are looking at deploying technology, one of the things that was noted in that report that I mentioned earlier, the SME report, was that whilst a lot of organizations were deploying technology, they didn't necessarily have the skill set required in order to mobilize the technology that they were deploying. So there are continuous learning, there's continuous learning across the EDI, and also the networks of EDIs as well that you can avail of. There's open access tutorials that you can avail of, but there's also then funded learning skills development as well. And Stephen Barnes will talk a little bit further about the skills development that's available at the moment. But some of the skills development is specifically looking at new technologies, implementation, and also it can be sector specific as well. The next slide, please, Lisa. So the support to find investment. As an EDI, we're here to try and find what best route for you to take in order to find additional investment. And that's investment through funding, such as the EDI itself, or there are alternative options as well. So you've got your Enterprise Ireland gateways, which Darren will talk about in a little bit, and how you can access those. But also we can give you information on how to access funding in Europe through cascade funding, or if there's an opportunity for you in Horizon Europe as well. We can also put you in touch. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware, but some organisations, when they approach us, they're just at the beginning of their journey. So we can also put you in touch with the likes of the BIC in Waterford, which is now Propeller BIC, and also the Leo offices as well. So we do have a deep understanding of where you can receive funding from and how you can access that funding. And again, we can also look to see if there's other funding opportunities nationally for you as well. Next slide, please, Lisa. Then the fourth pillar then is around the innovation ecosystem and network. So this is more to do with trying to match you with stakeholders. So there's two examples here that I can give to you, and it's kind of stakeholders in relation to if you're starting out in a journey. So for example, an AgTech cluster started down in MTU down in Kerry. We matched them with an AgTech cluster in Belgium so they could understand how they're actually developing their clusters, and they've had a lot of lessons learned by this matching. We've also matched the Vista Milk SFI Centre with its counterpart in the Netherlands as well. Again, so the whole idea is that you're not reinventing the wheel every time you're starting on a journey, and we can match you with stakeholders across Europe. But also just to let you know as well that as part of the EDIs, there are thematic working groups in lots of different sectors, anything ranging from tourism to agriculture to manufacturing. And we participate within those thematic working groups, and that brings the EDIs together collectively to solve a problem for a sector or for an industry. And Bill O'Gorman will be talking on this particular pillar. Next slide, please. So to understand what your eligibility is, the eligibility is against your de minimis. So at the moment, every company across Ireland has 300k de minimis that they're eligible for, and they can leverage. And we send an email to Enterprise Ireland to check your de minimis aid, and from that, the cost of your services go in against your de minimis. There, you do not have to pay VAT, there's no invoices, it's a one-page contract that your service or services are listed upon, and you sign that contract. We then undertake a digital maturity assessment with you, which gives us and the European Union an understanding of where you are from a digital perspective. And we have found this first meeting, there is a series of questions that we go through with you, and we found this meeting very, very fruitful at the beginning because it kind of drives conversation for us to understand what it is you need or want, and what we can recommend to you. The only obligation on your part, because whilst people might think that you know, the service comes at a very reduced rate, 100% reduction, and there still is a part to play on your end from a resourcing perspective, but then also you need to complete a DMA 3 months after your engagement has ended and 18 months after your engagement has ended. Of course, we can help you with doing that, but it's just to be mindful of that in the background when you do take on a service. Next slide, please. And this is the last slide for me. So again, your services are funded through your de minimis aid. We can identify the services for you because again, what we have found in the past is some of our partners have, or some of our stakeholders have come in and they have received a service from ourselves, but then we've passed them to another European digital innovation hub located in Ireland, and then they've come back to us again. So you could have 2 or 3 services going on with multiple partners at the same time. As I said, we do send an email to Enterprise Ireland. You're in CC, and for GDPR reasons, Enterprise Ireland email you back with your de minimis aid and where you are at in your de minimis. And then you can let us know if you have de minimis aid availability to undertake the service. The digital maturity assessment takes approximately 2 hours. And during those 2 hours, then we can define what your next service should be. Okay. So I'd like to introduce to you next Caroline Hoffman. So Caroline Hoffman is the director of the Cube in Laois. While she is not an SME, she's a centre of excellence. Part of our remit within Entire and the other EDIs is this idea that it's one to many. So in this particular instance, we supported Caroline so that Caroline could support a network of businesses located in Laois that are looking to create low carbon to create a digital capacity around their low carbon businesses. So Caroline, I'll pass to you, please.
Great. Thank you very much, Hazel, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. So my name is Caroline Hoffman. I'm Managing Director of the Cube Low Carbon Centre of Excellence, and we're located in the heart of Portlaoise. On the left-hand side, you can see our building. It's a 3-storey building spanning over 10,000 square foot, and it was derelict for about 15 plus years. It was just left idle. It was an eyesore in the centre of the town. So I might just move on to the next slide and show you a bit of an overview about our project and how it came about. So we're funded through Enterprise Ireland under the Regional Enterprise Development Fund, and we were granted just over €2.05 million in funding, and we officially opened in March 2023. So we're a relatively new project, and we found the EDI Entire was hugely beneficial because it gave us a steer and a direction and allowed us to explore potential funding opportunities and ways to support businesses. So we are a Laois project, but we work across the Midlands region. We also have state-of-the-art training rooms, we've meeting rooms, so these are all income streams in collaboration with the office space. So we have 2 anchor tenants, and we also have members of the EU Just Transition Fund team located on our ground floor. So we are in the Just Transition region, being in Laois, and we're also part of the CSIRO and Vodafone Gigabit Hub initiative. So I'll just move on to the next slide. So a quick timeline about how the project came about. So we submitted our application to Enterprise Ireland under Stream 1 of the Regional Enterprise Development Fund back in September 2019. And as I mentioned, we were successfully allocated just over €2.05 million in January 2020. So the bulk of this was capital costs to purchase the building, to get a high quality fit out. And then there was an allowance for salaries and consultancy. So we appointed our first director in November 2020. We didn't have a physical building until March 23. So we were working with other hubs in the region and the county. So we delivered, for example, training around the Agriculture Innovation Development Midlands project. That was a Horizon 2020 project, and that was in collaboration with Bloom HQ, for example. And I'll just move on to the next slide. So in terms of strategic objectives, so you can see the diagram on the right-hand side, the 5 key target areas. And this was identified from our own research and was supported through research with engagement through the EDI Entire service. So ICT, tourism, engineering, agri-food, manufacturing, they're the 5 key sectors we identified in the Midlands region. Now we do work with everybody across sectors, but those were the key sectors we identified. So in terms of strategic objectives, we're aligned with Project Ireland 2040, the Climate Action Plan to tackle climate breakdown, and the Midlands Regional Enterprise Plan to 2024. I'll also point out that Portlaoise is the first designated low carbon town in Ireland, so we are aligned with that. Our objectives, we're more than just an innovation centre. We're also offering services around developing and promoting sustainable low carbon technologies and solutions, fostering collaboration, knowledge exchange, driving innovation in sustainable practices and businesses, supporting education and training programmes, and assisting businesses, communities and the agricultural sector on retrofitting and decarbonisation. So we work with people across their sustainability journey, regardless of what stage they're at. Just the next slide, please. So just a quick snapshot of the Midlands region, just to give you a bit of background. We have a population of just over 324,000 people, encompassing the 4 counties of Laois, Longford, Offaly and Westmeath. The youngest population in Ireland is located here. And we also have a large number of commuters. So for example, looking to April 2020 as a snapshot, the average travel distance for commuters nationally was 16.8 kilometres on average, whereas in Laois, it was the longest in Ireland at 25.3 kilometres. We were also recently recognised as a European Region of the Future for FDI strategy by the Financial Times FDI Intelligence Ranking in 2024 and again this year in 2025. Just next slide. And just a few before and after photos. I'll run through these quickly just because I think pictures often speak louder than words. So this was our building on the left-hand side back in 2014. It was derelict. It was, you know, a bit run down looking. And looking to March 2023 on the right-hand side, this is when we had our official opening. And it's just a really good example of bringing back into use derelict and vacant properties. Just next slide. This is just our ground floor, so we have offices, as you can see, on the left-hand side as you go down the corridor. Just next slide. And this is our open plan hot desking area, which we have most of our just transition team are located here. Next, and this is the first floor where we have one of our anchor tenants. So first and second floor is kind of our main income stream at the moment, through having those anchor tenants. So we have FRS located on this floor, and then I'll just show you on the next slide. This is the top floor. So this is where we have an IT company, QA Leeds Ireland, are located, and they started with 5 staff, and now they've grown to a team of over 35. So really good example of us supporting startups, facilitating people through office spaces, and it's kind of revitalised the town centre as well and had a positive knock-on effect through, you know, coffee shops, you know, seeing increased business, and it's a real hive of activity as well, which is great to see. And just the next slide. So why did we choose EDIH Entire or EDI Entire? Our challenges. As a relatively new project, we needed guidance and expertise on the digitalisation and sustainability needs of businesses in the Midlands region. We also wanted to identify opportunities for the Cube with a financial benefit and income source in the longer term. So I'm one person, I'm the sole staff member of the Cube. So a challenge we had is that I don't have the expertise around digitalisation. So EDI Entire was a fantastic opportunity to engage with experts like Hazel, like Stephen Barnes and their team, and to identify, you know, challenges and opportunities for businesses and digitalisation in the region. What training can we provide in the Cube? What gaps are there? What additional services can we provide? And what's already available locally, regionally and internationally? We don't want to reinvent the wheel locally and regionally, but there are lessons to be learned from what's available in Europe and beyond. And we also wanted to identify the gaps we can fill in terms of supports and future projects. So what supports do businesses in the region need for their digital transformation journey? Just the next slide. So what services did we use? I'll give you an overview about the services that we use. So the category we explored was test before invest, and this was a time period of 3 months, which was 80 hours. And the left-hand side, your eye is probably drawn to the digital maturity levels. So that was part of the digital maturity assessment that took place during stage 1. And it was really important to see what our current position is and areas we can improve upon ourselves in the short to long term. And we actually visited Stephen and the team in ARC Labs in SETU in Waterford as part of this discovery and assessment phase. And it was really beneficial to see the technology that's available there for different businesses, and do look at it, do engage with the team and see what's available for you to test bed different technologies perhaps you're looking at. It's really worth looking at, and I was just really impressed by everything I saw when I visited. We were also provided with a report outlining the current state of digital play in our locality, in our region. Stephen also provided us with an outline of the Pobal statistics. For example, the workforce. I mentioned earlier, we have a very young, talented workforce in the Midlands. What are the opportunities within the region? What can we harness? And we were also provided with identification of potential funding streams in stage 2, which is really important because with Enterprise Ireland, we're only funded for 3 years. and we wanted to explore potential future funding streams. So this allowed us to look at the national landscape, potential EU Horizon funding, and a network of contacts that were generated during the assessment. We were also provided with reports throughout which will benefit the future development and direction of the Cube and unlock the digital potential for the Cube and the Midlands region. Just next slide. So how have we benefited from working with EDIH? So we were provided with case studies and research into European innovation centres and low carbon centres with a similar ethos to the Cube. Stephen, as you can see on the left-hand side, a photo from a focus group that we held to identify existing opportunities and solutions to current challenges. So we had different stakeholders from the region sharing their thoughts and kind of what supports are needed out there. How can we support inward investment? How can we support startups? And this was really good to have someone with the expertise to facilitate a session like this. We also identified digital transformation supports and training opportunities. By providing supports to businesses in the Midlands region to improve efficiencies, become more sustainable, and provide them with a competitive edge in growing markets. The detailed information about funding and opportunities for the Cube, as I mentioned. And we're looking forward to stage 3 as we engage with different sectors and stakeholders, exploring the Cube's role in the development of sustainable digitalisation as an opportunity for us to support them. And just the next one. And this is just my final slide. So this is one of the examples we were provided with in a report was Tartu Science Park in Estonia. And we have a lot of learnings that we could potentially implement here in the Cube. For example, they have focus areas around green technology and something that we're very eager to explore. So the reports that we got from EDIH will allow us to explore this. And in tandem with the stakeholder engagement groups, there might be an angle for us to develop the Cube in this way. And I'd recommend services even just to have the expertise on hand. They're a great team to work with. And as a business, you know, I come from a business background originally. You could effectively, you know, reduce your costs, save money, and explore potential funding opportunities. So it's a real no-brainer and something I'd encourage all businesses to explore and look at. And I think that's me wrapped up. And they're just my contact details if you'd like to reach out or even have a chat with me about the services that we availed of and look into a bit more detail about how we benefited. So thank you very much, Hazel.
Thank you, Caroline. That's a great presentation. And anybody who's interested or has a business in low carbon, of course, you can contact Caroline because she's kind of driving the field across Ireland nationally. But then again, if you want to avail of some of the services to see where your actual company goes as an individual organisation, please do contact us. Thank you very, very much, Caroline. Again, just to remind everybody that if you have any questions, you can certainly pop them into the Q&A and we'll deal with those questions as we move forward. So the next presentation then is Pillar 2, which is skills development, and this is going to be presented by Stephen Barnes, who works here at Walton Institute. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Hazel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Barnes. I'm a project manager and a lab manager at Walton Institute. I think some of you may look familiar as I probably showed you the big white scanner lab that we have there. I'm here today to talk about the European Digital Innovation Hub and especially the skills development pillar. Next slide, please, Lisa. Thank you. So the aim of the EDIH is to enhance digitalization across SMEs and PSOs across Europe, as Hazel had said, essentially is to be a one-stop shop. So as much as we provide test before invest services, similar to what you saw there with Caroline's presentation, what we also want to do is to, if you think of test before invest as making people aware that there are tools out there that can help them, digital tools there that they can use. The skills development is where you learn about how to, what do these tools mean for your business. So the purpose of skills development is to enhance the level of knowledge and skills on advanced technologies. The main thing is to give pragmatic, concise advice and guidance about these particular digital technologies. The reason is it doesn't, the majority of the courses that we provide would actually be quite small in terms of time. Usually you're looking at one-day courses, which just offer introductions and overviews. So there's not a massive demand from yourselves. So Yep, it's not going to take up too much of your time. So who's it for? It's basically for anyone with an interest in the subject matter. The one thing I would say about the skills development courses is that they're not for technical staff. It's for everybody, from people in non-technical companies all the way through to people in public service organizations or people in managerial supervisor roles. Next slide, please. So how does it link to the other services? So skills development can be used to help organizations that have completed Test Before Invest services. So you could think of it almost as you're not done with the EDIH when you complete your Test Before Invest services. Almost like just when you think you're out, we pull you back in, because you may start to adopt technology as part of a solution, whether it's the use of AI algorithms to help analyze metrics or anything, or whether it's using some other technology, just whether it's for e-marketing, commerce, augmented reality, anything like that. But you might want to learn more about the actual technology to enhance your adoption of it. So it's also earmarked from other strands, such as networking, investments, and funding, where you could be engaging with someone from the EDIH and they can direct you towards one of the skills development programs that are there, or even make you aware of it. The other aspect is we are part of a consortium that, as you saw from the first slide, includes MTU, UCC, Tyndall, Skillnet, and ourselves. So these courses actually tie together. I'll be mentioning later on about an introduction to AI course that we provide, and that can be thought of as a feeder for more advanced programs delivered by other partners. Same way we deliver very focused expertise-led courses that are fed into by other programs. So next slide, please, Lisa. Thank you. So types of programs that we deliver. So we go from open source, where you're almost getting a good awareness of the technology that's out there, an overview of the technology. These are open source, free to use, video-based courses that will be presented on our entire EDIH website. They're 40 to 60 minutes. It just gives you just a quick introduction to what is this that's there. Really think of it as demystifying some of the technology, some of the new emerging tech that's there. Then we follow that up with there's introduction, similar to the introduction AI course that I'll mention in a little while, and fundamentals and awareness courses. They can be online or on site, or even a hybrid of the two. Usually you're looking at anything from a 2-hour to a full day course. That's where you're kind of building upon the expertise that you gain from the open source. Then it leads through to advanced or very topic specific, very use case specific courses, which are often 2 days or more. So what you actually have is where you're getting to, hands-on with the technology, or learning how to use it, how to deploy it. Again, the way I think of the skills development is it's very much about, with Test Before Invest with EDIH, you're accessing the expertise. They're helping you to understand how certain digital tools can be introduced to your workflow. Skills development is where you're accessing the expertise, you're learning from it, and then you're able to deploy and adopt that technology. You have a good understanding of it. So next slide, please. So currently, the programs that we offer include everything from design thinking skills development, cybersecurity, augmented and virtual reality, introduction to how to use tools such as Qualtrics for enhanced surveys analysis, introduction to software development tech, edge computing, and of course, at the core of it, and one of the areas that's not just a hop-up button topic, but where we're very fortunate in Entire that we have access to a huge amount of expertise in the area, is AI. So you have that expertise at your disposal, but the other question that I would ask about it is, for the skills development, we're very much looking at what does the sector need. So next slide, please, Lisa. This is where I kind of give it over to yourselves a little bit. I have a QR code and a link there. If you could possibly use that, it'll link you to a Mentiboard, a Mentimeter presentation that I have at the moment. I just have 2 questions really there. If you could possibly link to, we'll just take 2 minutes to do. The first slide that you will see is which topics or technologies would you like to learn more about in skills development programs. So if you follow that link, you'll be asked that question, and if you could possibly just give just a single line or just a single word or the type of technology that you would like to do, I'll get the results of that momentarily. If there are any problems with accessing the link, please let me know in the questions and answers, and I'll be able to answer that. Oh, thank you. I see AI is very big there. IoT, Internet of Things, excellent. Excellent. I'll just give it another minute or two. So data analytics, power business intelligence. Excellent. I think we have our finger on the pulse at the moment there. That's pretty good. Digital transformation, VR, excellent. Always happy to see that come true. The integration of digital skills, excellent. Great. Thank you. What I might do is I'll just move on to the next one there as well, where once you're finished that, if you could just access the second question, which is which of these workshops, which we are currently offering currently putting together really with Walton Institute, that you would like to attend. If you could possibly rank them from 1 to 10, so just move them up or down in whichever way you would like to use them. So we have the introduction to AI shall be delivered at the end of this month, but we also have one on unlocking the potential of AI for your business, which is very popular, I see. Thank you. Introduction to AR, VR, and then that will lead to one where you're exploring the use of this augmented, so mobile-based augmented reality and headset-based virtual reality for your business. Edge AI for smart agriculture applications, building scalable intelligent IoT systems, introduction to software development concepts, and leveraging near-field communication tags to transform your business. This is excellent. Thank you so much for your responses so far. It's great to see. I think AI is definitely our most popular at the moment, and that is definitely aligning with what our provision is. So just check this now. That's terrific. And excellent. Thank you. So just from there, I guess, just to show you, next slide, please, Lisa. As I mentioned, it's kind of spoiled already, was we have an introduction to artificial intelligence, which will be delivered by my colleague, Darren Leniston, who you'll meet shortly. It's on April 30th from 11 to 1. So you can see a code there, QR code with the link to that. And again, the cost of this webinar is €500 per person, but that comes entirely from your de minimis aid. So literally, if you complete the application, we just need to check with Enterprise Ireland just to make sure that you're that the 300,000 you have allocated since January of 2024, that there's still some availability there, and then we will have you on the course on that time. Thank you very much, and thank you, Hazel.
That's great, Stephen. Thank you very, very much. If anybody has any questions for Stephen, please put them into the chat. Otherwise, just take a quick snapshot of the QR code there for the upcoming webinar on artificial intelligence. That's great, Stephen. Thank you so much for that. Great presentation. So our next pillar then is the investment support. So today, Darren is going to give us a presentation on how we can kind of find or link to additional funding opportunities. So Darren, I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Hazel. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darren Leniston. I'm one of the software research engineers here in the Walton Institute and part of the EDIH team. So as Hazel mentioned, my presentation's on unlocking investment supports with Entire and the EDI network. It's very focused on Enterprise Ireland, just as examples, because that's been our experience so far. But as Hazel mentioned previously, due to the consortium, our own experience, we have years of experience with linking with other national funding channels and European channels as well. So next slide, please, Lisa. So the challenge then, many SMEs and public service organizations struggle to access funding for digital transformation and research and development, and indeed research supports like those offered by ourselves in Walton Institute and UCC and Tyndall, etc. So as a solution then, the EDI provides a structured approach to connecting businesses with funding opportunities and expert knowledge. You can see then in the bottom diagram, it's a very happy pathway through the investment supports, and the services that EDI provides the groundwork to explore digitalization plans and further funding. Next slide there, please, Lisa. So what's the role of the EDI? It's supporting customers, companies through the journey. So what do? We provide expertise, resources, and connections. We help companies at different stages of their digital transformation journey, and we help bridge the gap between the technical needs and financial support. You can see in the pillar to the right there, it's a tiered support system. Tier 1 provides that initial scoping, working with companies to figure out exactly what they need. Tier 2 then is a deeper exploration of those digitalization needs, outlining what solutions are available, what stage the company should go through. And then Tier 3 can be prototyping and actually doing some research on those digital solutions. On the right there then, each of these link in with the ICS gateway, but this could also be cascade funding, European funding, or other national funding channels. Next slide, please, Lisa. So here's just an example of the steps to go through this process. So step 1 is Tier 1 and a digital maturity assessment. I'll just briefly go through what a DMA is. I think it's been mentioned a few times, but it's a structured way to evaluate a company's digital readiness, and it provides a means of comparison with other SMEs and public service organizations in a similar industry area. Why is it useful? Well, it helps identify the innovation needs and areas, such as automating repetitive internal processes, exploring the application of AI in the business, or robotics, or other tools such as IoT. And the outcome then, in tandem with the scoping, provides a roadmap for the next steps. So there's an example below there on the right. The SME or public service organization comes to us through the discovery and assessment or digital maturity assessment. We identify their innovation needs. We define the next steps. From there, then, they could go through other stages of the EDI, such as a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 service, or through to the gateway or another funding channel, or indeed link in at any of those stages. So an EDI Tier 2 might lead into a gateway, and then from there to an innovation voucher, feasibility study, or an innovation partnership, or indeed a Horizon Your proposal. Next slide, please, Lisa. Then step 2 is leveraging these tiered services for research and feasibility. So this kind of serves as an example. So Tier 1 could be discovery and assessment, which provides the initial guidance and basic support, try and figure out exactly what the SME or the public service organization needs in terms of digitalization. Tier 2 then could be a technology analysis. These services have a predefined scope, so they outline clearly what the service provides and what's given to the SME or the public service organization at the end. And in this example, for the technology analysis, it identifies key technology solutions. Then could move on to an Enterprise Ireland Innovation Voucher, which gives a more flexible scope, could provide a deeper exploration into digitalization solution, for example, a solution architecture, how it integrates with the company's existing systems, how it would be deployed and what resources it would use. And the outcome then is a blueprint for those digitalization plans and supporting documentation for funding. So for example, these Tier 2 services reports, the Irish Enterprise Ireland Innovation Voucher, provide the documentation for further funding, such as an innovation partnership. Basically, it's evidence that you thought about the problem and have taken steps to begin defining a solution. Next slide there, please, Lisa. And then, as I said, connecting with Enterprise Ireland for funding is could be a potential step 3, could be another funding model, but we'll use Enterprise Ireland as the example here. So, for example, EI provide key funding options such as innovation vouchers, which I've mentioned already, and allow you to collaborate with expert researchers to further develop ideas, feasibility studies to assess new ideas for market potential, and then innovation partnerships, which are larger collaborations with research institutions. And the EDI helps by matching businesses with the right funding pipeline. Next slide there, please, Lisa. So these are a couple of example clients and success stories, kind of high-level overview of what we've done with a few clients already and how their journey has looked through the EDI. And the first example is Wave Dynamics. They're an acoustic consultant company based in the southeast. They came into us for Tier 1, which was an initial scoping exercise. Tier 2 then was a technology analysis to explore solutions for a greater integration of internal systems. So this was a case of they have many internal systems that they use already and they don't quite speak to each other in the way that they want. So we investigated, outlined, recommended solutions for them to bridge that gap, and they've actually applied those recommendations within their business. In tandem then, we looked at an innovation voucher to define a specific digital solution to integrate into their business that was very use case specific to them. And later on this year, we'll be looking at a feasibility study and innovation partnership proposal. So about Q3, Q4 2025. So their journey is not complete quite yet. The second example there is a software company called Feed Alpha. They came with us for a Tier 1 initial scoping, and they went straight into Enterprise Ireland funding with 2 innovation vouchers. The first one being a deep look at an exploration of AI technologies specific to them. A second voucher to look at how would those technologies look integrated into their business. And then we went for an innovation partnership, which was funded and will be kicking off in Q2 of this year. Finally, then we have Terra Nutritech, which are a smart agriculture company. They went fully through the EDI, so they came to us for a Tier 1 initial scoping, a Tier 2 technology analysis to explore infrastructure as a service. So that's your AWS, Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud solutions for their business. Then a follow-on Tier 2, which was to take a deeper look at the user and system needs and the application of the technologies that were outlined in that first technology analysis. And now they're moving on to a Tier 3, which is a proof of concept. So we're actually going to develop a small scale system for them, which will be kicking off later this year. So that's an example of a company that are fully staying with the EDI. And after that, then potentially further contract R&D or maybe a larger nationally funded project. Next slide, please, Lisa. So in conclusion then, just to recap, the EDI helps companies discover and formalize their digital needs. We provide tiered services, which provide a structured support, and then through those supports, links to other funding channels and opportunities, for example, Enterprise Ireland. That's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Darren, thank you very, very much. Some really interesting insights there, in particular around the companies and everything that we have dealt with over the latter couple of months. So thank you very, very much for that. Again, just to remind everybody, if you have any questions for Darren or any of the presenters, please do let me know. You can put them into the Q&A section, or you can raise your hands. So the fourth pillar, which is the last pillar, is the ecosystem building. And Professor Bill O'Gorman is now going to speak about how he's engaged in TIRE for the Dungarvan Enterprise Centre, and they are uniquely supporting and developing an ecosystem down in Dungarvan in Waterford. So Bill, I will pass the floor to you.
Thank you, Hazel. So good afternoon, everybody. So as Hazel said, my name is Bill O'Gorman, and the focus on this presentation is on ecosystem building. And I should have put in brackets after that, under construction, because it's not something that you just end up with and that you have an ecosystem full stop. It's always evolving. So this presentation is about where Dungarvan Enterprise Centre is, and where we plan to go to from a delivery point of view, and also how the EDIH entire team are helping us and will continue to help us get to our end goal. Next slide, please. So what we do at the moment, again, and where we're at Dungarvan Enterprise Centre, by the way, I'm the chairperson of the Dungarvan Enterprise Centre. And we have an environment where we have offices for rent by entrepreneurs and micro enterprises. We also have co-working spaces. We also have training facilities. So we're very much at the I suppose the early stages of development of enterprises and supporting enterprises grow and develop. But we want to do something much broader than that. Next slide, please. So our overall vision is really to develop an enterprise and business community that is digitally capable, and that the community is adaptive, and that this is sustainable in the long term. And our focus areas is in Dungarvan and the West Waterford region. And so next slide, please. So what is our purpose then? Okay, so our purpose is primarily we want to do, and what we see as our purpose is that we want to sustain and grow collaborative partnerships. Now, these collaborative partnerships are with the local authorities, the business communities, enterprise support agencies such as LEOS and Enterprise Ireland, and also civic society organisations. We already have good links with these entities, but what we want to do is we want to have much closer relationships and partnerships with these entities so that we can help entrepreneurs and micro enterprises and growing enterprises develop further within the Dungarvan and West Waterford area. We also want to be a conduit in the partnership process between the nascent entrepreneurs, the developing entrepreneurs, and the growing businesses, and act as a link between entities such as EDIH in Tara, Southeast Technological University, UCC, and their research centres, so that we will be I suppose a one-stop shop in one sense, okay, that people within the broader rural communities can contact us, and that we can provide them the links to these entities and research centres. Often is the case that people working in remote areas, even though they're aware of what's available around them, they seem to be a bit shy in making contact for fear of maybe not being big enough to be able to make contact, or not be of interest to these research centres. So what we want to do is work with rural entrepreneurs and rural enterprises to broaden these links and to show them how to make contact with these knowledge centres and research centres. So we want to deliver skills as well too, and through our training programs, and enhance the local competencies and capabilities of the entrepreneurs and enterprises within the rural areas. And as it says there in the last slide, okay, it's to support entrepreneurs and enterprise and broaden the business and civic community towards digital adaptation and innovation in the broader sense. In particular, we want to have focus on the circular economy and to enhance a sustainable, inclusive, socio-economic development. Next slide, please. So these are our pillars, okay, that you saw the EDIH pillars, but these are our pillars, okay, that we have four, which is through innovation, developing innovation, development contacts, providing knowledge and training on knowledge and skills, developing partnerships, and creating a much broader community of enterprise and innovation within the region. Next slide, please. So, in summary, then, what we're about, okay, and the reason why I said that developing networks, okay, or network engagement, or stakeholder engagement, is under construction. Because there are lots of stakeholders out there that different entrepreneurs and different enterprises and businesses are connected to. But there's very little evidence in Ireland of having a totally integrated, collaborative stakeholder engagement process. So basically what we want to do is in this catchment area here, which touches even the south part of Tipperary and the east part of Cork, that we see that as our catchment area. And really what we want to do is that we wanted to build this as a test region, as a cooperative living laboratory for applying agri-tech and related research, innovation and technology in order to generate and enable the development of new enterprises in the region. And our overall aim is to develop a more sustainable rural enterprise network. Not just one network, but a group of different networks supporting, which will be interacting with each other and supporting each other in the development of an integrated, sustainable enterprise network. So where does Entire and EDIH come into this? Well, as you can see from what I said so far, it is rather ambitious, to say the least. This particular slide is very, very ambitious because whereas we have some contacts with stakeholders, we don't have it all combined together and integrated as much as we would like it to be. So if you go to the next slide, please. So we engaged with Entire, with Hazel and Stephen and Francis Cleary as well, as far back as February 2024. And that was the starting point of the engagement process. And through a series of meetings, we identified, well, what exactly does Dungarvan Enterprise Centre want to do? So we agreed a contract of engagement in April 24, and the initial step was to actually define the catchment area, as you saw in the previous slide, but also define exactly what is inside, what is in that area, what does that area consist of. So the first report was submitted in December in 2024. And we've used that now, and we've shown it to our board of directors, and it's now time to move on to the next step of the process, which is actually identifying our stakeholders and bringing those stakeholders together. And we're going to start that process this month. So next slide, please. So what was it like working with Entire? Well, we found that Entire was very, very responsive to what it was that we're looking for. And Entire were able to take our grand vision and our grand aspirations and bring them down into realistic scenarios. And a part of this was being able to provide us with an independent, unbiased view. So it's very easy for us as a board of directors to get totally engrossed with our own ambitions and desires and to navel gaze. But it's good to have the outside contact from people like Stephen that can say, well, actually, this is not the right way to go. Actually, there's a lot more that needs to be done here, and so on. So we couldn't have done this on our own, of course, and but by working with Entire, they have provided us with a starting point as to how we can move forward. So the next challenge in the process of developing the stakeholder engagement and the stakeholder networks is actually identifying who are the key stakeholders in this catchment area, and how are we going to bring these stakeholders together. And the biggest challenge is that how do we explain to these stakeholders that this isn't about Dungarvan Enterprise Centre? Dungarvan Enterprise Centre is just a process or a step in the process of developing what we want to do in the region. And what we want to do in the region is to develop a very, very strong rural enterprise network, a network of rural enterprises that will be self-sustaining, that will be future-proof to any disasters that might happen, and that they will continue to grow, that to be sustainable. So the biggest challenge is to, when we bring these stakeholders together, is to get them to focus on what is right for the catchment area, what is right for the sub-region that we've identified, as opposed to the activities of our centre itself. And the last slide then are just my details, and to thank you for listening. And you can contact me at either of these two email addresses, and I can give you more information about what we do, and also what Entire the EDIH based in the southern region, how it continues to help us, and what we will do with them in the future. So thank you very much for listening. Back to you, Hazel.
Thank you very, very much for that presentation. So we're nearly at the end of our presentation and our webinar series. So I suppose you would have seen the 4 pillars: the test before you invest services, the skills development, the investment to find support, and the ecosystem development piece. I suppose the reason why it's very interesting to try and present all 4 pillars is because whilst we actively support SMEs and public service organisations on your digital journey, I suppose we do a lot of work in the background to try and not just develop you yourself as your organisation, but also to develop the actors like the DEC and the Cube and Leash to try and support the region, and then the actual region itself, and to try and support the overall region to try and increase the digitisation. I just want to take a moment just to thank our panellists today, Caroline, Stephen, Darren and Bill. If you do have any questions, the website is up on the screen there at the moment. And I also just want to remind you of our social media. So we're on X and LinkedIn, and also our upcoming webinar on Intro to Artificial Intelligence, which Darren will be hosting. So thank you very, very much for your time today, and we will look forward to engaging with you in the future. If you have any questions, please do contact us. Thank you very, very much.